Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, thank you for allowing me to speak before you about Amendment 67 by Congressman Castor, prohibiting funds going to explore or drill in the eastern Gulf of Mexico. I represent a united and solidified Florida delegation in support of this proposal. Our 27-person delegation is the third largest in the House, and we have 21 million Americans living in Florida, the third most populous state. Here's an opportunity for you to protect Florida from the existential threat which offshore drilling poses to our tourism and recreational economy. Like the legal canon, to avoid even the appearance of impropriety, conditions and circumstances which could, however distant or mistakenly, give rise to the possibility of an adverse impact on the west coast of Florida as a result of drilling and exploration in the eastern Gulf create an unjustified and existential threat to us. As noted in the recently published book, The Gulf, which I recommend, as the post-war era began, the eastern Gulf pursued a leisure economy, the western Gulf an industrial one. People inundated one coast, chemical plants the other. With our tourism economy, we are radically different from the northern and western Gulf, but deserve protection from damage just as much. In addition to the risk to our economy, we don't need to take this risk to be energy secure anymore. By the industry's own admission, there isn't that much to find in the eastern Gulf in light of other discoveries around the world and in the United States and Northern Hemisphere are destined to be energy independent in the near future, as the Western Hemisphere already is energy independent. Horizontal drilling technology, which can make a horizontal well bore over 2 miles long within a 50-foot band, combined with hydraulic fracking technology, which imposes water and chemicals into the shale beds to open them up, have revolutionized the industry. In the Permian Basin alone in West Texas, there are 3 shale zones. Just one of them, the Wolfcamp, is said to contain 20 billion barrels of oil that are recoverable. Yes, billion. We have more reserves in the U.S. now than Russia or Saudi Arabia have conventional reserves. Last time you all indulged me to speak before you, I presented charts of the projected changes in import and export routes of hydrocarbons around the world now and in 2020, showing the radical shift to independence. As the CEO of Shell noted in Fortune magazine in January 2018, global demand for gasoline and diesel fuel will peak as early as a decade from now, and certainly by 2030. A May 25, 2017 article in a science blog, Perspicacity, entitled How Big Oil Will Die, asserts that peak oil demand will occur by 2022, and notes that the Keystone Pipeline, a favorite cause in the 2012 election, has been shut in now because the high-cost Canadian tar sands are no longer economic. In an era of rapid technological change in the electronic vehicle market, we should recall the fate of Kodak cameras and Nokia smartphones. PPHB, a Houston energy investment bank, recently commented in its monthly newsletter that the electronic vehicle business will be growing at an accelerated rate over the next few years. Like the CEO of Shell, they get it. Any leasing undertaken after the existing GOMESA moratorium expires in June of 2022 would not even be in production before massive decarbonization sets in. Shell's latest Gulf of Mexico project, Vito, was first designed as a 40,000-ton platform in 2014, but has been downsized to 8,900 tons right now. In fact, inside the company, there's a great amount of internal debate of whether ever to build it. Lastly, Mr. Chairman, with humans and mechanical technology involved, things can always go haywire, despite taking the best of precautions. Right now, the Department of Interior is trying to water down the enhanced safety regulations put in place after the Deepwater Horizon spill. The Florida delegation recently wrote Secretary Zinke in united opposition to this unfortunate move. The Gulf Restoration Network recently published a study of current spills going on right now, caused by such reputable firms as Shell Oil and LOGG. One spill, the Taylor, has been leaking continually for 13 years. Just last year, a spill of 400,000 barrels occurred at an oil well pipeline hookup. Lastly, drilling itself puts massive amounts of drilling fluids and mud, especially bentonite and other harmful chemicals, into the surrounding waters. Testing of the water around offshore well bores consistently shows high amounts of harmful trace metals. So lastly, in closing, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak before you and implore you to please protect Florida by prohibiting the exploration and drilling in the eastern Gulf of Mexico. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roney. Mr. Jones, you're recognized.